Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Postgame Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. And oh man, what a start. 10-3.
Oh, baby.
Yep.
Oh, baby. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching on YouTube, the champagne is back on ice. Back on ice. As the quest for 63 has been delayed. It's just going to be here in case we need it. But
has it officially changed to? Have we officially changed it to Quest?
Yeah, I think we're going with Quest. It just sounds more dramatic that way.
But I feel like Quest seems less less likely than like March. Like marching, you know you're going to get there.
Well, each day that it goes by it becomes more and more less likely to happen. They got 15 games to win one now to avoid 100 losses. I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. But yeah, I've seen stranger things,
I'm miserable. I need this season to end.
10-3 Marlins.
Oh,
what a dud this game was, man. I'll tell you one thing. We'll get to who you got much later in this podcast, but we had that pregame show, and you guys were trying to bait me into taking Wade Miley because I said his ERA has been so good against the Marlins. Boy, am I glad I didn't get sucked into that. He was not good.
He's the guy that he's most likely to have a Stucky special. Like that's the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, that's the whole reason. I was like,
that's true.
I didn't try to bait you into it. I just know that if there's anyone who's going to make a game go 2 hours and 10 minutes, it's Wade Miley.
Yeah, well, it wasn't today. What did we get, about 3 hours?
Yeah,
pretty close to
game started at 5:30 and it's 8:43. Yeah.
All right.
Jack says he decided to watch the Astros game instead. How's the Monday Night Football game going? I didn't actually watch it. We got
Titans are getting their butts kicked, and last I checked, the Vikings are down a touchdown. So
that's what it looks like. Oh, 2 touchdowns actually. Eagles just scored.
Eagle. I kind of like the Eagles as a surprise NFC pick. Anyway, no.
No.
Your dark horse?
Well, their division stinks.
Their division does stink. So
and with Dak Prescott out, there's no way they don't win that division.
Oh, by the way, I feel like we're going to talk about it later, but the Mets took out Scherzer, and the guy who replaced him gave up a double on the first batter.
Well, they were talking about it. Actually, they were talking about it in the broadcast. Like he's coming back from injury.
Yeah.
Joe Girardi's like, this is a manager's nightmare. Like, what do you do? Guy's got a perfect game going. Like,
I get it, but also it's a perfect game.
They care about October.
They care about winning the championship, I guess, more than they. I bet you
he was just coming off the IL. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I don't know. I get it. I agree. I'd
take him out.
If he was younger, maybe not, but not at his age. That just. And it's not like he's never no-hitter through at least thrown a no-hitter before. Didn't he throw a perfect game in the playoffs, or was it just a no-hitter? Thought he threw a no-hitter at least.
Scherzer? No.
Yeah.
He didn't know. There's only been 2, right? It was
Larson's
perfect game and then Holiday's no-hitter.
Yeah, I'm not great at
it.
I'm thinking of Roy Halladay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking of Roy Halladay.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. in peace. Yeah, my bad. Either way, Milwaukee sucks.
You got that going for us.
If there's anything that I was right about this year, they're frauds. Like I said, y'all looked at me like I was smoking something. Which, time to time, give me around some people. Maybe just a little bit, but. That day I wasn't.
Only when you go to Ravi Come-Up's house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
When I go to Ravi Come-Up's house.
It's legal on the state level.
When in Rome.
I mean, we
don't even know how to start the show, man.
I told you how we started it. We put the champagne on ice. I had it all ready. I was ready to messy up the whole basement.
Yeah.
I was going to put the plastic up.
You need to bring that to the office tomorrow, Luke.
I don't know. I
We
got to
could
find out
spray
if
it
it's
if
an
they
expensive
actually want
bottle first before I decide to bring it in and tarp up the office tomorrow.
63 win. Yeah, I can see it now.
We'll just go on the balcony and Cody can just set it
Now
off
that
there.
might work. See, that might
There you
work.
go.
Or we could put plastic up in like Kevin and Lawrence's office, just that tiny little room. Make that like our locker room celebration.
Yeah.
For the quest to 63. Man.
Guys, all I can say is that in a year from now, I hope we can sit back and laugh about this podcast. Hopefully we're in September next year and the games matter, and I can bring up. Remember whenever we were, celebrating the 63rd win, like with a bottle of champagne.
Well, we're looking at September 20th now, right? Is our next shot at 63. Next season, what is your goal for when they should reach 63 wins?
I mean, at least like a month earlier, right? Like,
yeah, at least, please.
Like, you got to make it to at least 500 next year. Like, that's.
But the White Sox have 76 wins, and I mean they might
not
make the playoffs. They're in a bad division, but they have 76 wins right now. So if you say 63 wins, I would hope the Cubs have 63 wins by August of next year.
Sometime in August, hopefully mid to early August.
Yeah,
like please, oh my God, this team stinks.
Now wait a minute,
so bad.
I let me figure out the math. Now, Ryan, you picked, what was your record you predicted? 77 wins.
I think so. Yeah, 77, something like that.
So did this Matt? Let me think. There's 15 left. I think you were still like mathematically at some point you weren't out of it. I'm not doing the math in my head, but
if there's 15 left, that means they have to end the season on a 15-game win streak.
Right. If they win the last 15, technically your prediction could still be right.
Yep, right there.
I've been mathematically eliminated at a 500 record. Cody was eliminated sometime in.
Okay, you have to bring it up. You don't have to bring it up. All right.
Cody was eliminated.
Actually, I don't blame you.
Cody was eliminated in late June.
I'm done manifesting things or attempting to.
But Ryan's still in it. 15 straight wins.
Still alive.
Hey, listen, there weren't too many great things. One was Morel hitting the home run, which was a bomb. And then for me, the next best thing, was probably Jeremiah Estrada. Like he comes in for Miley, walks the first guy he sees. Then I think he goes 3-0 count on the next guy. And they're kind of like, oh, this is a tough spot to come in. Tough spot. And he gets it all the way back to 3-2, mows down 3 straight guys to get out of the inning. He ends up going 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, that 1 walk, no earned runs. He looked good. And you heard Joe Girardi and Ryan Dempster kind of raving about the way his stuff moves. And that it doesn't just it goes down a lot. There's great movement down on his pitches. They seem to love him. And I liked what I've seen so far too. I mean, again, he's another one of those guys that I'm not going to guarantee that like he's in the bullpen right out of the gate next season. Just like I can't guarantee that Keegan Thompson's going to be in the rotation, or I can't guarantee that Wisniewski's going to be in the rotation to start the season. Yeah. But these guys have all put themselves in the mix. Now, Keegan Thompson's going to be on the roster unless he gets traded. I just can't say for sure he's going to be a starter when the season begins. Estrada's starting to look more and more like he should be a guy that's in the bullpen when the season starts next year, no matter who they build with in the offseason as free agent signings. Agreed?
Yeah. Well, he's got the stuff. Yeah. Definitely. Like I think like you do have to look at what they, whoever they acquire in the offseason, they're going to go out and try to get some cheap veterans to fill out the bullpen. They've done it pretty successfully the last few years. But Estrada, he's got the stuff. He's got really good stuff that, works well in one, 2-inning burst today, right? He had 4 strikeouts in 2 innings. He looked good. Honestly, Eric Ullman had a good inning. Like even the balls that he threw weren't like non-competitive pitches for the most part. The slider looked broke pretty sharply. I mean, not saying I pay attention to every single pitch that Eric Ullman throws, but today he was fine. And obviously it was a clean, perfect inning, got that one strikeout. But I mean, these are young guys that you just want to see good innings from, especially if they're going to be in a major league competitive bullpen. You hope next season, guys that you just need to consistently see good, solid innings. They don't have to be perfect every time, but not getting blown up and stringing together outs, your soft contact, strikeouts, whatever it is. But yeah, Estrada specifically, he's got the stuff, he's got the look. He's another one you just need to see consistency from for the rest of the year. Because he came up, he was that Toronto guy, right? He came up. I want to say I think it was him and Brendan Little came up that Toronto series, and then they had to do a bunch of roster shuffling to keep Estrada on the major league roster. But he's had a great year. He had a great year in the minor leagues, and I think
started at single A.
Yeah, right. Like he rose pretty quickly. I think it looked like he was ready for that shot at the big leagues. And he's had a couple clunkers, but like that. Today was what you need to see out of him. A guy that can go out there in a sticky situation, get out of it. I mean, obviously he didn't give up a run, so he got out of it pretty well. But just a guy you can trust to throw into that situation and make some magic happen, I guess is the best way I could say it. Like he just needs to have more outings like that. It doesn't have to be like a perfect clean, like no hits. That stuff comes with the better he gets, so the more experience he gets. But it's just like if he's going out there, he's throwing strikes, he's battling, he's competing. That's all you can really ask from a guy that young as far as like not a lot of experience in the big leagues. But if he's going to be in your bullpen next year, like these are the kind of things you need to see now.
Mm-hmm. I admittedly missed all of his appearance because I was on CHGO Bears After Dark. But I will just say that it's encouraging to see that because I do know that there's a few outings that he's came in and got roughed up, and the walks, I guess command you could say was a little concerning. So see him go out there for not only one innings, I don't care if it is the Marlins. That's it's encouraging. I remember his major league debut. We were all or at least I was pretty. I think that was like the most exciting thing of that game was to see him come in there and just shove it and like make the Blue Jays hitters look really bad. So, again, another step in the growing process for him tonight. So, I mean, that's exciting, I guess. You got to take what you can in these 10-3 losses at the end of September. You only got 62 wins, man. Like. Yeah. I know I'm laughing. We're laughing. It's just like that's what you have to do. And like, I know it sucks and it's not fun and like, it's depressing and people are going to laugh at you for doing it. But if you like, it goes from a fan perspective. It's when the Cubs are good again, you'll remember this and then you'll be like, man, I wrote it out. I sat through it. There you go. You'll feel better about yourself.
And with Estrada again, Luke, like you mentioned it, he came in, was the first and second, and then walked the first guy he faced on 4 pitches. And with a rookie, with guys still in his first month in the big leagues, like that could very easily go off the rails right there. But he came back and punched the next 3 guys out, all swinging. Like again, it's just like it doesn't tell you like he's going to have a great long career in the big leagues, but it shows you like he's not. He's a guy that's stepping up to the challenge, trying to, taking his lumps at the big league level in a season when the Cubs are still trying to fight for 63 wins with 15 games left to go in the season. Like it's just like, I remember Jared kind of wrote about it on Saturday, which like in a season like this, you got to take the small victories because when you start stacking on small victories, that's when, the winning starts, right? So Estrada being able to go out there, get out of a sticky situation with 3 straight strikeouts to end that 4th. 5th, I think he gave up a hit, but then, it was really nothing else after that. I mean, you just when you're not playing for like wins at this point, it's like those little things, seeing those little things on a lot of the young guys is just that's what you have to take. And if they can do that successfully and consistently, like that's, I don't know, it gives you a little bit of hope, I guess, for some of these young guys that they're like development is not that they're developing at the right way.
Right. We can't highlight the Popeyes chicken sandwich or Chick-fil-A. We got to focus on nuggets right now, like just little pieces of chicken with some breading on it. That's what we're celebrating. And he was 10 swings and misses in 2 innings to get out of it. And again, obviously the walk at the beginning wasn't great. Hello to Rhonda, who says hello in the chat. I saw Michael Collada says 70 wins next year. That would be a success, says Tom Ricketts. And there was another one from Michael, the captain of positivity. Ricketts says September 18th next year. Another success.
Well, I guess that would be an improvement, right?
Yeah, it would be an improvement.
Technically.
And I will agree with Jack Brown here, who was talking about, I had mentioned the booth with Girardi and Dempster. I haven't loved, to be totally honest, I haven't loved the constant rotation of guys coming in and doing games. And I think we had this conversation a little bit when Girardi did the games at Wrigley Field. It was a boring game, and I did enjoy the way the 3 guys really kind of meshed and worked tonight. Like, again, I like when JD does a game too. I like when Plesac does a game, Doug Glanville, all those guys. I think they have a good group of people that rotate in. It's just kind of excessive when it happens all the time. This game was, I thought they really did point out some things throughout the game, specifically Girardi, and then Dempster would kind of play off of it that it was made for an interesting broadcast, Girardi was going back to Marlins days. He went back to managing the Yankees and Joe Torre, had a couple of good stories, behind the scenes stories, but I was good with the booth tonight. Like, as far as the game went, that was the most entertaining part was listening to those 3 guys throughout the game, because the actual baseball was kind of a snooze fest other than Estrada and Morel's home run.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't watched a ton. Obviously, I haven't watched a ton of like games on TV because I'm in the press box a lot. But I have seen that like critique is like just there's a lot of different voices that come on screen throughout the season. And I get it. I mean, you can't ask JD and Boog and whoever to do all 162 games. But when you do have, I mean, what is it, like six, seven, like different, I mean, I know Beth Mullins is on
I
there,
just hope it's that. I hope it's that you can't ask JD to do that many games, and it's not like, no, we want to mix it up some during the season, which also could be the case. Like I would love to see JD do almost every game. Obviously, Boog has some national commitments that he goes and does. I just kind of wish it was like 3 guys that jumped in on that, like maybe rotation occasionally. But it seems like you almost never know who's going to be on the broadcast. This time you knew it because Girardi lives in Miami. So this was clearly a series he was going to do.
I'll say I enjoyed the conversation about Aaron Judge.
Yeah, right. I thought we'll talk about him later, but I agreed. I like that, Girardi remembered him as a young guy coming into the league, right?
Well, clearly I ain't watching Yankees games every day, but I had no idea Aaron Judge was playing center field a lot for the Yankees this year. He doesn't look like someone who can play center field, but he has been. Which to me, like when we've talked about him, Luke, you multiple times you've been like, "Oh, we can DH him if you need to." It's like, well, if he's playing center field, then this guy can do more in the outfield than like we really think.
He's not just a DH. If he's playing center for the Yankees, he can play an outfield. So he can play a corner outfield spot at the very least.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know Brendan Davis is coming up, and we got PCA and all that, but like if you sign Aaron Judge, you could play corner outfield and center field. You move them all over the freaking outfield if you need to. I don't know. I'm just saying, like that was probably the most like eye-opening thing during that conversation was, and that I mean, again, that I'm not watching Yankees games every night. I barely even watch the highlights because I just know they're good, and I don't want to watch Anthony Rizzo in a Yankees uniform anymore. So I'm not tuning in. I'm not seeing where Aaron Judge is playing every night, and I haven't gone to like Fangraphs and look. I'd love to know how many times or how many games he's played center field, because that's very intriguing to me. So
yeah, I have seen, I was just gonna say just about the national, like a lot. Again, I don't watch a lot of games, but I have also seen critiques about like they get a little bit too national on the broadcast. I don't know if that. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I'm asking you guys. Like, have you guys felt that way? Like they bring a little bit too much outside of Cubs into games?
I know Cody gets mad when they give updates on like Yelich hit a home run, or Pujols. I guess the Pujols one is at least timely now, but like Yelich hitting a home run for the Brewers, I know Cody is not a fan of. Right? Like you don't want updates on the Brewers at any point.
No. Unless we're in playoff chase.
Right.
That's it. Like, I don't want to know what's going on with those two teams. If I want to know, I'll go search myself, but they shouldn't be showing it to us. I just don't think that Cubs fans want to see it. Personally, I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, well, Judge hit 2 more yesterday, right? So he's 59 home runs. And again, I keep saying, in a season when nobody else is hitting home runs, I dream of the guy in white and blue pinstripes. Like he would be such a show. It would be the same thing as like when Sammy was going for it. Like 59 home runs he has this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he hit 2 more yesterday, right? Something like that. Like that's
what Luke said.
Yeah, 2 more yesterday against the Brewers.
They did show highlights of that when they started talking about Aaron Judge on the broadcast, they showed him hitting those 2 home runs against Milwaukee. Now, when you're showing highlights of Milwaukee or St. Louis getting their butts kicked, that's when you show it. That's how you get ratings. There's my advice to you, Marquis. But yeah, no, it's I remember me and Ryan sat at the office. We were looking at his numbers like a week or 2 ago, and he has to be well over a 9 more player now. He's gonna be a 10 more player by the end of the year. It feels like
he's having a hell of a year.
Yeah, he's gonna get paid so much money, man.
Who do you give that the MVP to?
I think you got to give it to him, man. He like his first. Isn't he like he'd win the Triple Crown right now, wouldn't he?
He's just short in average. He's third in average, but not that far behind. Like he does have a shot at the Triple Crown.
I want to say yesterday he was like 1,000th of a percentage point going or behind in batting average or something like that. Or like
they showed tonight. I think he's at 316, and I don't remember what's leading, but it's close. Like he's technically not leading batting average, but he's every bit in the race for it. But at the same time, Shohei's amazing, and he does both. I don't know my thing is I don't know if you can penalize Aaron Judge for not being a pitcher.
Right. I mean, it comes down when you bring up Shohei, you are basically like he's just win MVP every year. Like if he wins it again this year, you might as well give it to Shohei Ohtani every year.
Nobody's ever going to beat him if he wins it this year.
Right. Like Aaron Judge is having a historic season. And he ranks first in so many different categories. Meanwhile, Ohtani, he's just really, really great at what he does, but we've become so accustomed to what he does that it's almost like we take it for granted. So I don't know. That's why I say Judge should win, because he's just doing something that we might ever see again. I mean, he's going to break Roger, or it's not a record anymore in my opinion, but he's going to pass Roger Maris, his home run record that he made back in the day.
What is the American League home run record?
I thought it was Roger Maris. I thought that was
that's what I'm saying. It is right. It is the American League record.
Yeah.
Not the Major League.
I was talking about Major League. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, it's Aaron Judge, just because. I mean, seriously, it's historic type season, and again, I feel like I'm taking Ohtani for granted when I say this, but you can basically pin him to probably do what he's doing this year again next year.
And
he's already won.
I will also say, I feel pretty comfortable saying it's no juice too, because if you're willing to, if major, back in the day, you would say, it's a conspiracy theory, like they're covering up any steroid testing and stuff. But first of all, he's huge. Like the guy's huge. And on top of it, they just suspended Tatis. Like if you want a star to be protected, it would be Tatis, but they're not. So
yeah,
he's being tested and he's come back clean. So in my eyes,
there's always going to be those.
It is up there with the major league record because
they're not testing Pujols though.
People are always going to have doubts. People are always going to have doubts.
They're giving him like horse steroids before the game to try and get him to the finish line.
No, I just had to throw that jab in there.
No, anyway. I had to ask one quick. I had a thing about Miley, and this is kind of something I've been thinking about.
Yeah,
probably a little more in terms of like Drew Smiley, but I guess you can kind of lump them both in together. I know Smiley has the mutual option. I want to say Wade Miley's like a free agent, like unrestricted or whatever you would call it. I don't think there's any options. Maybe this is more Miley specific because he pitched today and because he probably will be cheaper coming off of, he's pitched, I think 6 or 7 times this year now, maybe 8, something like that. We talk about who may be in the rotation next year. But we also talk about like the fact that you can't just rely on 5 or even 6 guys to be in the to fill out the rotation for an entire 162 games. You get Miley, I think was $10 million this year. I don't think he's signing for that much next year. Would you guys bring him back for a cheaper contract? He will take up a roster spot from a guy, maybe a guy like Caleb Killian or someone like that. But he is a veteran. You hope whatever injury issues are kind of behind him. He's cheaper and at the very least would provide rotation depth.
Would you rather have Miley or Smiley?
Probably Smiley at this point, but I think Smiley would get a more money in a contract, maybe even a 2-year deal. Because I think he's 33, whereas Miley's 35, maybe going on 36, something like that. So this is a Miley specific question. Like it's just
I mean, I think it's one or the other, and I guess whichever one fits in better. I agree that I think I like what Smiley brings more than I like what Miley brings. But if it comes down to like signing another guy or the deal just for Smiley doesn't make sense. Like he's a mutual option, right? Smiley.
He's mutual option, yeah. Which I don't. Apparently those don't often get. Apparently those don't often get exercised because they both have to agree on it. So.
And Miley does give you the benefit of some short games every 5 days, so there's always that to be factored into what we're talking about. Keep that in mind, folks. Now,
sometimes you got to sacrifice your happiness.
I just don't know about bringing both of them back. Like if you
I don't think they would.
Then you don't need Sampson. Then you don't need whoever else might be on the list.
I don't think they bring both. I mean, I can't see them bringing both back.
I could see one of them though. I could see one of them in Hendricks, and to me, that's enough.
Let's say Smiley's not coming back. You're okay with them re-signing Miley, obviously at a shorter or probably go another 1-year deal or something like that. Like just because I'm asking just because
$5 million Miley for 5.
I mean, I'm just asking because of what it would do as far as like some of the guys in the system that they want, like people want to see in the rotation or getting starts. Miley, if healthy, is obviously going to take some of those away. That's why I'm right. Where's your balance?
Roster-wise,
do you want a veteran starter who you hope is healthy and has historically covered a lot of innings in his career, or would you rather have the young guy come up and show what he can do?
Gosh, some of these young guys, that's a better question for Cody, I think. Like, I think some of these young guys have shown me quite a bit. Like, I don't know if they can provide it throughout a year, but also Miley's been hurt, so I don't know that he can provide that consistently for a whole season either.
Well, as we saw during the golden era, you had a mixture of young and veteran pitchers in the rotation, right? Like Hendricks was your young guy.
Arrieta was kind of in the middle.
Arrieta the middle, yeah.
Like, was it Lester and Lackey were obviously
Lester, you had veteran proven guys, right? With Hendricks and Jose Quintana, whatever. Don't get me down that rabbit hole. But in this situation, the Cubs have so many young pitchers who are unproven that you can't just I can't just say, all right, we're signing Hayden Wesneski up for 30 starts next year, bank it like he's gonna do it. Now, I'm not saying I don't think he can do it, but I'm saying the Cubs can't act like they think he's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I would love to see Hayden Wesneski, be in the starting rotation to start the year next year, based off what I saw in one start. I mean, maybe that's overreacting, but that is what he projects to be as a starting pitcher, right? So to me, at going into next year, I think you have to find a way to balance that. And at this point, I'd probably take Smiley over Miley, because all it takes is just something in Miley's arm or whatever to mess up, and then he's out for another 2 months. I mean, it's weird because Miley historically has been pretty durable until this year. I know he had some injury problems 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So he had been healthy for consecutive seasons for a while. And, it is what it is that what happened this year. But, Smiley has pitched very well for what the Cubs, or for what we thought that we were going to get out of Drew Smiley. And that doesn't mean that I didn't expect anything good. He's pitched big in some he's pitched big in some games the second half to help the Cubs eat innings, but also just been quality. And I just feel like he can be someone who can help some of these young guys with Kyle Hendricks and Marcus Stroman. So I don't know. It's tough because I think we can mark Steele in there. I think Steele's going to be in the rotation next year. So you got Steele, Stroman. If they bring back Smiley, I think he'll be in the rotation. But if Smiley's going to be a rotation, though, I think he should be your 4 or 5. I don't know if I want Smiley and Kyle Hendricks in the same rotation, but that's the reason that I'm okay with it at the beginning of the year, is because they have so much depth in the pitching department. So if things don't go well for one of those two guys, you can give a young guy a shot, because next year I think they will be better and will be a playoff contender if they do things the right way in the offseason. So they can afford to give some of these guys a chance and also try to still continue to give young guys a chance at the same time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I at the end of the day, I just don't really know. I think between the two, I'd rather have Smiley, but it's just very tough. And when it comes to the 40-man, personally, I'd rather have the young guys on it more than veterans. Considering the position the Cubs are at right now, it's tough because they have so many of them, and I don't know who belongs and who doesn't, for a lot of them at least. We were just talking about Zach McKinstry the other day, right? And he's been pretty good over the last week and a half or so. He's starting to come on, starting to show the little bit of value. But does 1 week change how I feel about him going in next year? Not really. Even if he plays well the rest of this year, I still don't know. It's a very, very, very tough situation that I'm glad I'm not doing. And all I can hope is that the Cubs don't completely mess it up, because there will be 1 or 2 that they let go and they go on to play well with another team or something. It would not surprise me if that happens.
Yeah, I will say with Smiley, he did have. I think he pitched out of the bullpen to end last year with the Braves. Mm-hmm. Regular season, I think all September he was bullpen guy, and then pitched three times out of the bullpen in the playoffs. So he's obviously willing to do something like that. So I mean, if you re-sign him, then you got a guy who at the least can give you some innings out of the bullpen, and then is there for spot starts or to take over in the rotation when injuries hit. If they're hitting like they are, that they have this season, that's definitely he's a good depth piece, I think. And I think, even if he's not your number, it's again hard to pencil him into a starting rotation, just like it is for a lot of a few of the Cubs guys. Like I know you mentioned Stroman, Steele's probably in there for sure. Hendricks, if he's healthy, I think he starts the year in the rotation. But having Smiley as at the least rotation depth, who you can get long relief outings from when needed, like that's a good problem to have in my opinion. I think he's a guy who talks about wanting to be in Chicago and stay in Chicago. That's definitely a role I think he would be up to taking on, because he already did. Again, he did last year with the Braves when they won the World Series. Like I like question myself. I'm like, was it the Braves? The Braves, the World Series. Like he. I think it's a role that if they bring him back next year like that, he's not opposed to being a bullpen guy.
Right. Well, I'm with you on the pitching. Like they got I'd rather have more pitching than not. Right. It's just they have so many young guys that I don't know who they're gonna keep. It's just it's so hard to go through the 40-man and be like, they should cut this guy, and keep this guy.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
Because nothing that happens the next 2-3 weeks is going to matter for that 40-man.
If it means, for instance, if you're going to, let's say they spend a lot of money on a couple position players to fix the lineup that we know needs lots of help, like what David's been talking about it in the chat tonight. Yeah. And I said in pregame, look at the names in the lineup, and there's only 2 regular guys. Even before that, it was not a lineup that was going to win the World Series. When you look at teams that are really stacked, there's some good baseball players in there, but that's not a lineup that puts the fear of God into the other team or their pitching staff. So they need help. So if that's where some of the money's going, to a big player over there, if it's Shohei, whoever, I don't care who it is, Rodon, everybody loves Rodon, great, Rodon. I would rather have that one ace player, whether it's Rodon or Shohei or whoever it might be, than I would Smiley and Miley and another guy to have that depth. I feel like some of these young guys have at least shown us enough that I'd rather have one of those guys being 4 and 5, if that means I can go get and overspend a little bit for a guy like Rodon, if that makes sense. If you're going to overspend for Rodon, but tell us you have to go get position players, cool. Then I'm okay with you using some of those young guys, because you think that's where some of the depth of the organization's at, these younger guys that can play for cheap and maybe really earn a 4 or 5 and kind of work their way up a rotation. That's a perfect world. But if you're telling me you're only going to kind of mix and match the roster, then that's where you start to think about okay, do I need Miley and or Smiley? And it's not the way I would lean, but if it was one of the two, I'd rather have Smiley. Cody, tell us about PointsBet here. What do you got going for the week?
Well, tonight's Monday Night Football games have not gone well for me, fellas.
Titans you were on a heater. You were on a heater.
I was. I had a great Sunday, and I might go 0-4 tonight because the Vikings are not playing well, and neither are the Titans. I think the over-unders are all going to go over. I took unders. But that said, I still that I made these bets on PointsBet. This football season, guys, PointsBet is bringing you a better way to bet live on games. Right now, I should just bet the over. I could do it right now, honestly. Before this ad is over, you can place a live same-game parlay, bet on the next drive to be a touchdown, and cash out your live second-half over bet. With PointsBet, you have access to more live football markets than ever before. Build the perfect live same-game parlay by combining your favorite bets anytime during the game, including spreads, totals, player props, and more. Choose the outcome of the next drive and next points with PointsBet Lightning Bets. So whether you are on the move or on the couch, do it live on PointsBet. Download the PointsBet app today and sign up with code CHGO to get your first 2 bets risk-free up to $2,000. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services.
Our next partner has a product I use every single day. Started taking AG1 because I didn't have time, wanted better gut health, more energy, and optimized immune system. And now I've been on it since we launched CHGO. What is that, like 7 months almost now?
6.5
months?
6.5, right?
Wow,
Like
time flies, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I love this stuff. It doesn't taste super healthy, but it is. That's the key. It's got a tropical taste. I look forward to taking it in the morning. Here's what it is. 1 scoop of AG1. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food-sourced superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to help your day start right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, pretty much everything. And I get a noticeable boost of energy, so I take it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. And it's lifestyle friendly too, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, you're all good with AG1, and you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance for $3 a day. Actually, less than $3 a day. And it's recommended by professional athletes with more than 7,000 five-star reviews. So right now, reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just 1 scoop of this stuff in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs. Again, athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Frank Schwindel, should we have poured one out? End of the air? What was? Oh, sorry, that was I didn't get it in the picture. That's the.
I don't think you can pop champagne for him, man.
Yeah, we're not champagne, but we could pour one.
You gotta pour like the Malort shot for that.
Malort, old style. Frank's more of an old style guy, right?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, or Miller Lite. Yeah, Miller Lite when he was hanging out at Murphy's.
I don't know who realistically thought going into the season, he would be able to repeat that. But even if he did, it was going to be difficult to be a long-term part of the future for the Cubs just because of his age. Like, it's just taken a long time. Like, would he still be around if he was playing like the end of last season? Yes, he would. But those stories are few and far between. Like they just don't happen very often. So I think, for Frank Schwindel, what you have to remember is just kind of like, it was a fun period. It wasn't a fun period of Cubs baseball necessarily, but he was a fun story. And what he did was pretty cool for a stretch where he was like the best hitter in the National League. And everybody was like, who is this guy? He looks like he should be on a tractor cutting the field after the game. Like, who is he? He literally could go to Murphy's and people had no idea who he was for a while, right?
Yeah. Well, the best part is like he's like just a big human being.
Yeah.
Looks normal. And then he puts the helmet on and he becomes like a cartoon character. Like, it's hilarious. But Frank, I mean, last year was something Cubs fans needed because of the trade out, the deadline sell off. He won Rookie of the Month August and September. Like, he was really, really good. And he gave, the walk-off slide into first base against the Pirates, the grand slam against the Pirates. Like, I think him and Matt Duffy both hit grand slams on the same day. I remember that. Right. He had a great last 2 months, but it was also like, you didn't really think he could. I mean, he wasn't going to match that kind of production over a full year. It was just, he had a really, really good 2 months, but I don't think, he sunk pretty quickly too. Just when you consider that he was optioned down to AAA, that whole 24-hour nail in his tire thing that happened in, I think it was like early May or mid-May, something like that. Like,
it was early May.
It was pretty quick
when they went out west, when they went to San Diego.
Yeah, and then he came back up, and then he got optioned back down again, and it just was like, Frank became a cult-like hero in Wrigleyville
to a degree, right? Yeah,
to a degree, yeah. Like, people are gonna remember Frank Schwindel for a while. People love him, but it just wasn't, like you said, Luke. I mean, he's an older player. I mean, was he really going to be your first baseman of the future? Like, I don't. I mean, this talk was before Matt Mervis's breakout, right? But it was like even then, who really saw? I mean, did you really see Frank Schwindel? I mean, he's 30 now, might even be almost 31. Like,
yeah,
you didn't really know if he could even keep up his production from last year, which he didn't, and two, whether he could do that for how much longer he could do that. Would he have even lasted till this team is ready to compete again? And clearly he didn't. Getting released, DFA'd over the weekend, granted unconditional release. So yeah, it was I mean, again, disappointing because he was a great story last year, but it just didn't work out. He really did take the opportunity and run with it last year, but just didn't, couldn't do that over this full season this year.
I mean, not many people get to the big leagues, let alone have a stretch, even though it was short, or a half a season, like Frank Schwindel. Like, he's got some great stories. If this happens to be the end, I don't know if it's going to be the end of his major league career. But I mean, the Cubs are, obviously one of the worst teams in baseball right now. And so I don't know who's looking to add that type of player necessarily and take up roster spots when roster spots are so key. But I hope he lands somewhere and gets one more shot, another swing at it with one more team, maybe spring training next year. I don't think it's super likely that we see a lot of Frank Schwindel in the majors anymore, but it was fun. And it was a fun ride for Cubs fans. I don't think you'll hear a Cubs fan say too many bad things about him.
Yeah. Think about how much money the Cubs made off Frank too. Like, he had that 2-month breakout and they sold a lot of Frank Schwindel jerseys, I'd imagine. Like,
oh man. Anyone who actually went and bought a Frank Schwindel jersey, just imagine wearing that in like 5 years to the ballpark. Oh my God. That would be I mean, that's
to the World Series, the next World Series game at Wrigley Field.
Oh man.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Like that would be hilarious. Question: you think he'd be good? Like, I don't know, at Marquee or something like that. Like, Cubs fans generally all liked him, right? Like you said, Luke. Like, no one would have anything bad to say about him. I don't know if he would actually be good doing the job, but like, do you think people would like care or like get excited about it? Because again, like,
Cody, are you trying to add a 10th person to the rotation for play-by-play? Are you talking about?
No, I'm not even saying the
post-game analyst or something.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, all right, listen, I would rather watch
them doing that next year for sure. Having him rotate.
I'd rather
with
nothing against Ryan
Marshall.
I'm not nothing even against Ryan Sweetie, but I think I'd rather listen to Frank Schwindel talk about a baseball game than Ryan Sweetie. Because at least Frank Schwindel is like, he had this persona, and like, whenever things were going well for him, like the smile and the double finger thing, and like, again, like it was so dumb. It was so dumb, but so great at the same time.
And the Murphys, like him showing up at Murphys.
Yes,
and
like
all that kind of stuff. Like,
he was everything he was everything as a Major League Baseball player that like the random Joe on the street like me would be like, if I was like in his position, I would have been doing the same things. Like, I feel like Frank Schwindel is one of the more relatable professional athletes that I've ever watched. He was genuinely just a normal dude. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like, and that's why I say, like, if Marquee were to be like, hey man, like, we'd love to have you on pre and post every now and then or something, I don't know. Like, I just feel like that would entertain me. And like, that's just me.
We should see if he's looking to join the podcasting world.
That's what I'm thinking.
This is the end.
Now, if Frank Schwindel gets on this podcast, oh my God.
Frank,
my God.
Here's what I was just gonna say. What you're describing, Cody, is he's not going to be an all-time great in Cubs history. You're not going to think of Frank Schwindel you're never going to introduce him as all-time great, right?
Right.
But you could introduce him as all-time Cubs vibe great. He's a Cubs vibe, right? Like, as far as Cubs vibe going, he was high on the list in recent Cubs history.
Absolutely.
On and off the field.
I mean, he's a guy that people are they're gonna talk about, they're gonna remember, they're still gonna, love, and for a while. I mean, people still talk about Tony Campana. I still see Tony Campana jerseys at Wrigley. Like, These are guys that like
he's the same type of dude.
He's way better. He had a way better run though than Tony Campana did with the Cubs. Like I'm trying to think of like who you could even really kind of compare him to, like where the fan base kind of jumped on his back and they were super excited about a guy that had a good stretch.
Darwin Barney.
What in his stretch of like no errors?
I mean, Barney was an everyday player for a while. He won a Gold Glove. Like even Barney had a more consistent major league stretch with the Cubs than.
He definitely has a decent, like Cubs fans remember him and liked him. He was at the Cubs convention a few years ago before the pandemic.
It just shows how easy it is for people to fall in love with you when you're on the Cubs. Like how easy it is for the Cubs fan base to fall in love with players because, again, a guy that just had a really, really hot 2 months, like we're talking, people are going to be talking about him for years. Like he's not going. The name,
he'll be like
Windy City. That's not going away.
I can't think of a guy like even Brian LaHare, who had a great first half of the season. He didn't have the vibe or the like. What? Who is this guy? Like, this is one of us out there. Like, I can't think of somebody who's had that same kind of impact on a Cubs team.
Yeah, Culotta said Fontenot. I was kind of thinking that
because he was short, but Fontenot never
had. I don't know if he had the vibe. I don't know if
Fontenot was again a more consistent everyday player, but he wasn't.
He had a higher ceiling, that's sure. He was on a playoff team too.
Yeah, he didn't have a hot stretch as hot as what Frank Schwindel did, though. Like, right? Like Fontenot wasn't winning Player of the Month back-to-back months.
Yeah.
I mean, Schwindel was like the best hitter in the National League for a little while.
For like 2 months, yeah.
Right. Rhonda Fritz asked what happened to Frank. Hasn't seen him play in a while. He was obviously optioned down to AAA a while ago. DFA'd over the weekend and released Sunday. Yeah, but I think it was a granted unconditional release is the term. But yeah, that is what happened to Frank. He is no longer a Cub.
I have another thought about Frank too, and this is mainly like, and this is why I hate the internet sometimes. Like when the news broke that he was getting like DFA'd, you know, I did the classic like, what was your favorite part of the Frank Schwindel era? Like, anyone who follows this podcast knows that that's like a joke. It's like an inside joke that we all play, and like the people who don't get it, they just shit on the guy in the comments. They're like, oh, he was a shitty player. And it's just like, dude, I don't know how miserable you have to be to like, just like hate a guy. Like we all understood that this team wasn't going to compete this year. I understand that he is the one who replaced Anthony Rizzo, blah, blah, blah. I totally get it. I totally get it from that aspect. But like, I just don't understand why there are any, like, that's not his fault that he replaced Anthony Rizzo. Like, don't hate on him because of that. Like, that's the thing that bothers me the most. I told some guy to go touch grass because he pissed me off with a comment. Like, it was just so like, just stop being miserable for 5 minutes of your life, please. End rant. Thank you.
You're not gonna convince anyone that way. Like no one's ever gonna stop being miserable on the internet. That's just how it goes.
True. No, I just wanted to let that out because it had been sitting in my stomach since we started talking about this because it reminded me of my mentions the other night. So yeah.
It's all right.
Hey, I should bring up that Pins and Aces is the official golf apparel partner of CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear. Get tons of compliments on and off the course, and they are a family-owned golf and apparel business. They make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve, and an innovating product that allows you to store 7 beers or 7 pops or 7 high noons right inside your golf bag. Keep that stash right there near you, close the entire round. Check out pinsandaces.com and use the code CHGO to get 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. Are you guys excited about the first ever CHGO Bears tailgate coming up on Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. Ryan, you're going, right? Right?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Luke, you said you can't go, right?
I can't go, so I'm going to go to the next one, which I believe is coming in early November. Weather-wise, I'm bummed because I think this one's going to be like This is going to be a
Best
great
weather.
one.
It'll be much nicer than it will be if the next one's in November.
The next one's in November.
Yeah.
Early November, though. Yeah, so it's $34. It's it's a CHGO tailgate that we're throwing. It's the corner of Michigan and Roosevelt. And if you go to allchgo.com, you can find out the info, get your tickets there, sign up. It's limited spaces. The $34 includes your beer, your booze, food from a food truck that we'll have provided, a DJ, and you're only like 10-minute walk maybe from Soldier Field right across Grant Park. So you're close. But I mean, to me, that's an awesome deal. And we use the Game Time. We've said it 100 times here the last week. Then what you do is you do the Game Time app, you get that downloaded on your phone, and you get wait to get your seats if you don't have them yet. And you wait to the last minute, and then you get the great deals. So it's like using two of our favorite partners at one time, and then you have the perfect Sunday when they beat Lovie Smith and the Texans and prove it 2-1.
And this is after you already drank your AG1 in the morning. It's 8 a.m.
Well, yeah, you have your AG1 in the morning. Right.
Yep.
And you take
your
Owen. An idea is take some Owen with you. And on the walk from Roosevelt and Michigan, little protein shake. Have a little Owen on the way over there. Rehydrate a little bit extra. Always want to hydrate.
Oh, yeah.
Always hydrate.
It's better and move. It's better
Especially
and move.
after the stuff you'll take being.
Oh, we're losing it.
Before that. You losing me? Am I here?
You froze for a second.
Oh, here he is.
Yeah.
Oh, he's getting clearer and clearer.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on here with my internet. I'm wired in tonight, guys. I was having the same problem with CH after dark.
Must be late night interwebs. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we got Adrian Sampson going. Do we want to do who you got? Should we get that out of the way? Wrap it up?
Yeah.
I mean, who you got? What a dud fest we had here. Joey had Bodie.
Yep.
He did.
Hap, my guy, had an RBI, and that was his only hit. He drove in Cody's guy, McKinstry, who scored a run. That was his run. But McKinstry had 2 hits. I think Hap and Franmil each had 1.
Well, I didn't even have Franmil. Remember I switched to Gomes?
Oh, yeah, you did switch to Gomes. So you were totally out of it.
Oh, yeah. As much as I hate to say it, Cody gains another point today.
Yeah, well, it was the final hit for McKinstry. It really came down to you hadn't jumped on this before the chat started, and we were like, I could see that you could say nobody won, but then McKinstry got the hit, and we're like, all right, he's got an extra hit.
Yeah.
And it came down to the last at bat and that called third strike on Ian Happ, because if Happ walks there, that's my second RBI.
The only people sweating that game was Luke.
That walk, that BS call on that walk was my second RBI. Right there. That's where I closed the gap again. And it was taken away because we don't have robot umps.
I was hoping for the walk because then that would have put Gomes in position for a grand slam.
Yeah, or if
he gets a grand slam,
got a hit there. If Hap got a hit, it was over too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have let Luke have it if Hap would have got a hit.
Let me have it. Come on.
I wouldn't have argued it, at least.
All right, Cody gets one.
Feels good to be and remain on top, guys.
Running out of time. 15 games to go, and some of those are on the weekend when we don't always do a who you got.
I think we should
have to go on a real heater.
We got 2 more weekends left. We should do it. 15 games.
Okay.
Even on Cody and Corey and Brennan days.
We should try to do it.
Got in.
Yeah. Okay.
Need to close this gap. On Cody. I don't know what the standings are right now, but I know I'm falling behind a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure Cody's got him.
Here, I'll bring him up really quick, and hopefully my internet doesn't mess up while I do this. I know I have 25. Yep. I now lead 25 to 21 to 19 to 2 to 2 to 1.5 to 1-1.
Right. Technically, he's got a 3-point lead with Maverick, of course, having one of those. So it's really 25-22. And Steve, I think, also had one at one point. By the way, I was at a backyard barbecue this weekend where the dog's name was Steve, and I was like, man, I should have worn my shirt. Should have worn the shirt.
Should get him like a specially made dog Steve shirt.
Right.
That'd be cool. If obvious shirts got into like dog tees.
Or if he had one that said Steve 2.0. The dog had a Steve 2.0 shirt.
Maybe.
Yeah, perhaps.
Anyways, we're back for postgame. No pregame tomorrow, but we will have postgame after the Cubs and Marlins. We have Adrian Sampson pitching. Cubs lose 10-3 to the Marlins in this one. 6 hits in the game and 15 games to go. The push to 63 sits on 62. Champagne will be on ice should we get to 63 tomorrow. Hope you'll join us tomorrow for the postgame show. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast presented by PointsBet. We will see you tomorrow.